The Arizona Cardinals lock up a key piece of their core on the offensive line. Who could be next for the Redbirds, Bo?
And what's going on with former Cards GM Steve Keim? Why is he smiling like the Joker?
Hey, welcome in. It's the PHNX Cardinals podcast, live from Studio K, presented by our friends at Circle K. It's your premier Arizona Cardinal podcast. Like and subscribe. Leave us a 5-star wherever you get your programming. This fine program brought to you by our friends at Bet365. Never ordinary. Use the bonus code hashtag PHNX Bet365. I'm Johnny Venerable, joined as always, co-host Brack, Damon, Dawg, producer extraordinaire behind the mic. Gentlemen, breaking news today. The Arizona Cardinals lock up outstanding center. I would call him a hidden gem, Hjalte Froholdt, on a 2-year contract extension, both something that we have alluded to, but at the same time, I think very much flew under the radar today.
It did. Yeah, it was a nice little surprise on the Twitter streets to open up that app and see that the Arizona Cardinals are keeping good people, good players in the organization. One of the under the radar signings of the 2023 offseason, a guy that the Cardinals bet on, a guy that bet on himself. And it turned out, you give a guy, some playing time that he didn't necessarily receive elsewhere, and you get production immediately. And a guy who kind of is leading the charge as far as one of the more consistent units from last season, the offensive line, big Hjalte Froholdt, the Desert Viking, sticking around, getting some work done as Monti Ossenfort. It's impressive to see that he's already found players that they bet on, and them feeling kind of getting the rewards of that.
Yeah, I mean, it's a coup. And again, we'll talk about who could be next in line for the Cardinals. But when we made our list, I think it was earlier this spring, about who is on deck to get signed next, because the Arizona Cardinals have not been handing out extensions really since one Steve Keim, who we're also going to talk about, was traveling the halls there in Tempe. But Hjalte Froholdt was atop the list for you and I. We both made a separate list, a private list of about 3 to 5 guys.
Mm-hmm.
And, he's a pressing need because of the fact that he stabilized the center position for the first time since really Lyle Senline did, circa 2008 till whenever for the Arizona Cardinals as an undrafted free agent out of Texas. The Cardinals have not had stability at that position. They bounced around. Even the best Bruce Arians teams were not great at the center position. And then obviously things came to a head. Rodney Hudson came to town for a 3rd-round pick. That was a disaster. And then the Arizona Cardinals add a player the caliber of Froholdt last offseason. And, they brought in other competition and a whole hum. This guy goes about his business. He's got a familiarity with Drew Petzing dating back to their time in Cleveland. The Cardinals took the assistant offensive line coach from Cleveland, brought him here, and everything just kind of synced up for Froholdt to have a great year. And I think even more so, and we're going to dive into the statistics a little later of what he did last year, but just carrying the mantle for 3 different quarterbacks. 4 if you include Colt McCoy and Clayton Tune and Joshua Dobbs and Kyler Murray. I mean, that is so valuable that you're able to lock this guy up on really what is a modest 2-year extension.
Yeah, it really is. And it's a testament to the scouting, and, Gannon reiterated today, like, their understanding of Froholdt is, here's a guy that does everything that they want from their players.
Yeah.
Just needed to play. And he did. And if you think back of the timeline, specifically with this podcast and how we viewed the Froholdt signing, we never heard of the guy. You do your research, you look at the PFF grading, you look at, the Pro Football Reference page, the stats, where he played positionally, where he had been, came out of an SEC school in Arkansas, went to the New England Patriots, got, some playing time with the Browns. As you mentioned, Petzing, saw the versatility. You're like, okay, where does this guy fit in? We get to OTAs. Here's this guy playing center. And You start to see, okay, this is this guy's job. They're going to give him first crack at this. As you mentioned, kind of the position being kind of in flux since Sendeline way back when.
Yeah.
Never really fighting anybody, from like Mason Cole to Rodney Hudson to the guy, the ham sandwiches that they put in between, like the Sean Harlow's of the world, the Max Garcias. And you're like, okay, is he a placeholder? And then you start, you go through you go through OTA's mandatory minute camp, you get to training camp. They sign a player with experience at the position. He gets hurt. He never is really, a threat. And it's Froholdt's job going in the regular season, and he took it and ran with it. And I think you can make the case that he ran with it the entire time, never fumbled the football or had anything that resembled that. And parlayed that into one of the more steady players, consistent guys, leaders, legendary workouts in the gym, and earning the respect of his coaching staff and his teammates. And it's just one of those paths that, you could only root for.
Yeah. I mean, to me, he came in and competed for his job. Nothing was given to him.
Right.
Hey, we're going to give you an opportunity. What do you do? How many Cardinals have been gifted opportunities and they've blown it? Right. They've been coronated before they've been drafted, free agent busts, right? The Jordan Phillips of the world. And then you get a guy and it's like, okay, we're going to give you not starting money, but maybe starting money last year. And it's going to be a 2-year deal. And he goes out, plays every snap or damn near every snap, plays in 17 games, and really puts himself in a position to say, not only am I going to be better, I'm going to be a leader on this team. And you think about how Paris Johnson and Will Anderson Jr. talk about him and the relationship that he's cultivated with Kyler Murray. Like we always talk about like premium positions, and I don't think center is, but I think it's right there in that next group. Like it's a sub bullet to left tackle. When you have a quarterback with Kyler Murray's injury history and his stature, and he's undersized, having a big physical presence at center is super important because, again, like I don't remember a lot of internal pressure coming from that position. I remember Hjalte Froholdt playing in every game and the Arizona Cardinals having the 4th ranked rushing attack in the NFL last year.
Yeah.
And you're buying a stock right now that should continue to do this outside of injury. I mean, he's 27, 28 years old. You're going to get the peak years of Hjalte Froholdt's career. And hell, like every free agency period, I remember when Corey Linsley was available, he blossomed late in his career. He signed a big money deal with the Chargers.
Please. Get him in here. Get him.
Right. That was ugly at the time. But he signed a big money deal with the Chargers. He's 30 years old. So who knows? This could be not the last extension he does with this team, but you can breathe a sigh of relief and say, hey, let's just put this position unit to bed. We're good. We're good for the next 3 years, knock on wood. And, John Gaines and, Isaiah Adams, let them compete at guard. Let's go out and let's give Evan Brown, let's compete at guard. But the Cardinals, they have 2 tackles and a center in good shape. We're going to talk about the contract status later in the show, but it's a good day for Cardinal fans. It's an under-the-radar move, but at the same time, people are going to look back on this and be like, what a savvy move by Monti Ossenfort.
Yeah, that's what it is, right? It's like good people, good players. You hold on to those guys, right? Especially turned 28 yesterday. And when you look at offensive linemen and where they can, like their peak years, he's entering it. And you've got him not that expensive. You talk about the Linsley deal. You got the Rodney Hudson deal where I think they're still paying some dead money on Rodney Hudson, who, you were given damaged goods from the Raiders when they were going to outright release him. And the Cardinals came in, and I agree with that move. Like because you needed to solidify that spot. I agree with you. Like if it's not a premium position, it's a position that you better have a guy for, right? And like we see what it's done for Kansas City with the consistent play from Creed Humphrey, could have been had in an NFL draft. And like what Froholdt was able to do, and it wasn't like. I asked him about it. I was like, what is it about the center position? Like, did you envision this was going to be where you earned a spot in the NFL? He's like, I was always a guard. I played a little, center in college. And then the opportunity presented itself. I played it, said, oh, I kind of feel more comfortable here. And then, hey, now you've got yourself a 2-year extension, your best opportunity in this league. The first time probably in his entire career, you can say, hey, I can hang my hat here for the next couple seasons and not have to worry about, am I going to make the roster? Am I going to get playing time? It's like, no, I'm the starting center for the Arizona Cardinals. now until, the end of 2026. And that's great.
It is great. Let's take a look at some of the advanced numbers from 2023 Froholdt's lone season with the Arizona Cardinals. These are via our friends at PFF. Pass block snaps, almost 700 last year. Run blocking, 444. So you're talking about over 1,000 snaps, almost 1,100, over 1,100, and 8 penalties, right? I'm not a mathematician. I would say that's pretty good. Sacks allowed, even better at 3. Quarterback hits allowed, 4 quarterback hits in 1,100 snaps. That's unbelievable. 23 pressures. Again, that number, you probably like to clean that up a little bit, but man, you talk about, hey, go out and do your first career starting, campaign at the bright old age of 27 at a position that you're kind of comfortable with. You're going to play all 17 games and give up 4 quarterback hits in 1,100 snaps. I mean, Hjalte Froholdt, I hate saying this because I want players to get their money. I mean, I think he could have got more on the open market. If he puts together a better year than last year, which he's on track to do. I saw JG say today, Bo, his best football is in front of him. I don't think he's peaked yet. There's a good chance he left money on the table. And again, I think that's a byproduct of the culture that Monti Ossenfort and Jonathan Gannon have put together. And this is a byproduct of, we're not going to spend big in free agency, but when we do, it's going to be calculated like this, and it's going to pay dividends.
Yeah, it's. I think guys paying it, giving a discount to the organization that gave him an opportunity, right? And good people and team first guys, and it's sometimes in today's NFL rare, but you talk to Hjalte. I mean, lives in the East Valley like my co-host himself. He doesn't live in a big mansion or anything. He's got his own home gym set up. Probably much like my co-host. I mean, are you guys the same guy potentially?
He's actually down the street right now. I just saw him driving.
He's talking about he wants to go buy some rocks, boulders and stones that he can throw around like he's in the world, like the 1990s World's Strongest Man competition. He's a simple dude.
He's humble like me. We're incredibly humble. No one's been humbler than
myself. People tell me I'm the most humble guy. That's let's hear from a whole Froholdt now. He kind of he didn't want a big, party, thrown at him, even though his teammates love him and want to celebrate him getting a big win for himself. But Froholdt now, I'm just re-signing with the Arizona Cardinals and being in the fold through 2026.
It's awesome being able to solidify it a little bit, and I really like what we got going on here. I enjoy the coaching staff. I love the weight room. I love the way we kind of run things, and love my teammates, love the environment. So I'm stoked to be able to kind of dig in some more roots here and just really focus on what I need to do, and then don't worry about all that other extracurricular stuff. Now I can just worry about football, and that's all that really matters. So get out there and signed up this morning, but got to get out there and practice. So it's just another day. So stoked about it, but also, now it's definitely ease of mind to just think I can just go out and play balls to the wall.
I love that he was like, love the weight room here. And then he's eventually like, I love my teammates. Yeah. I love the weight room.
Right. I love getting in the lab, right? Just clanking some metal together, right?
I'm really
we all know that feeling.
With the squat rack here. Have you seen it? That's really what led me to commit. The kettlebells
here.
Hey,
look, I'll take a weight room compliment after the NFL Player Association grades from the first year.
That's very
that place is a hazard. You can get hurt in there. So
is Michael Bidwell secretly also paying off Hjalte Froholdt? Hey, give the weight room some good press, would you, Hjalte? We need to win here.
A 50. Here's what his head coach had to say about Froholdt getting the extension.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he's exactly what you want in a Cardinal, and glad to see Monti and his people and himself got that done. Excited for him. He deserves every penny.
Can I highlight this comment here? K2. Hopefully Johnny doesn't live next to Tip, Gardeck, or Cameron Thomas. For my sake. K2's looking out for your boy. I appreciate that.
Yeah, wait. Somebody watches the show right there. Yeah, and Shaft saying that, yeah, you're just humble pie, Venerable. You are the most modest, humble guy. But look,
It's boring. It's part of our life.
Froholdt gets it, man, and you can tell that guys follow him, and the part of the center position is between the ears, and that's so key. He's a cerebral player, and he's be able to pick up the calls, take a look at the defense, and he's the guy that is right there. He's going to work with Kyler Murray for the next couple seasons, and it's a good move for the organization.
And it keeps some continuity on the offensive line where that unit has been in flux for some time. Let's take a look, Damon, Dawg, if we could, on just the future of this O-line. There are some pending free agents. Let's start top to bottom. Paris Johnson Jr., who I think we all feel has the highest ceiling as a top 7 pick last year, signed through 2026, technically 2027 with his 5th-year option, Bo. Evan Brown, free agent after this year. We still have yet to see him in a full 17 games with the Cardinals, although maybe he could have a Froholdt-like ascension. Then, of course, the aforementioned Froholdt now signed through 2026, so 3 more full seasons. Will Hernandez, could he be next up on the extension docket? 2024 is a gamer just like Froholdt, but also, nearing the ripe old age of 30. And then, of course, free agent signing this past spring, Jonah Williams got a 2-year deal. So outside of Paris Johnson Jr. and Froholdt now, you've got some flexibility. I definitely like the makeup of this offensive line, but there's not a singular player outside of Paris and Froholdt where you would be like, you know what? I'm going to pass on a first-round caliber tackle to keep Jonah Williams. I'm going to pass, and that's respectfully, they're going to hold down the fort this year. I'm optimistic about it. But I look at this O-line and it's ever evolving. It's ever evolving, but it's never a liability.
Yeah, and I think we're going to look back at this as kind of just the beginning. You get PJJ in the fold, and Froholdt is in there, and like who are going to be the pieces 3 years from now? It's probably going to feature a first round draft pick or a day 2 pick in the starting lineup, and I think they've got some in-house options for some successors for both Brown and Hernandez, whether it's, 3rd round pick in Adams, who I know a lot of people felt like he struggled, and he certainly has had some poor plays, but also has put out some decent tape this preseason. And then you've also got, Jonathan Gaines, and does he project to be, a starting caliber guard in this league? He's going to get his first chance, to be healthy and start an NFL season this upcoming September. But you got Froholdt, you got Paris Johnson Jr. in the fold, and you've got some blocks, right, to build off of.
Yeah, and again, like Isaiah Adams looks like needs a full year of watching and learning outside of maybe a spot start here and there. I don't want to poo-poo Will Hernandez either. Like Will, I think, had on par with the kind of year Hjalte had last year, only gave up 4 sacks. Same thing, played 1,100 snaps last year, Iron Man. So again, like if there's an opportunity,
he faced some injuries, like he battled through back and other injuries and got himself on the playing field when the Cardinals, they needed it last year. Like they just didn't have any options really to fill in. And Hernandez, definite tip of the cap for a guy like Will Hernandez. And I mean, it does he enter the question or start, in the conversation for sure could he receive an extension? Could he get, could he be next in line? I don't think that's an unfair or unrealistic conversation. I mean, I think he's beloved and is right there in lockstep with Hjalte Froholdt and Paris Johnson Jr. is just, the leaders on this line.
It's funny, like we talk about who could be next in line, and I Hernandez fits that build, but these contracts we're talking about, I don't want to say they're modest, but they're not, marquee top average of the league additions, right? And this is a nice extension for Froholdt, but again, like I just mentioned, Corey Linsley, I remember he got, $15 million a year, and Hjalte gets about half that. And there's a name that's thrown around in the chat, and I think it's accurate. I think Trey McBride is the first Cardinal under Ossenfort to get a big ticket extension, a big ticket contract. you would want to get Trey McBride done sooner rather than later, assuming he can build off what he did last year. You don't want Trey McBride going into a contract year. And like, I love Monti Ossenfort, but Mac Wilson, Justin Jones, Bilal Nichols, Jonah Williams. I mean, these are modest 2 to 3 year deals with most of the money on the front end. We have not seen Monti Ossenfort, to his own credit, have to give out the big deal, 20, 25, $30 million. And maybe that comes down the line when he's extending the Parises and the Marvins, et cetera. But I think Trey McBride, if he has another huge year, can sit back and say, you know what, Monty, time to cut the check. Let's make this happen together. I'll be your first, so to speak.
Yeah. He's eligible as soon as the final whistle blows on his third season here.
Yeah.
And to get an extension, you don't have the benefit of a fifth-year option with him as a second rounder. So yeah, it would probably be the best path to maybe saving some cap dollars to lock him in as soon as possible. So yeah, Trey McBride, and then you've got some tougher conversations like Budda Baker, who's also going to be free agent after this upcoming season. So like those, I think that those are your prime extension candidates. And Xavier White. Yeah, Xavier White also in that conversation.
Future's looking bright for the Arizona Cardinals. So bright, maybe you got to wear shades. We're going to talk to you about some of these key additions via the draft and why they're being highlighted. But first, I'm going to tell you about our friends at Shady Rays. How about that bonus code PHNX, here to save you money with the quality shades that are built to last, friends. Our friends at Shady Rays have you covered with premium polarized shades that won't break the bank. Take my word for it. Again, love telling this story. I was in Hawaii with my beautiful wife, and I was taken back and taken down by a massive wave in the process. Lost my Shady Rays, my sweet, sweet all black Shady Rays. And I thought to myself, it's a loss. I'm heartbroken and I'm embarrassed. And I crawled on the sand back to my chair, and I dried myself off. I picked myself up. I grabbed my mobile device, my smart device, and I went to shadyrays.com, and I plugged in the bonus code PHNX, and I got a brand new pair for under $40, and they were at my house when I got home. It's like I never lost them to begin with. I'm all about Shady Rays. You should too. And again, if you don't like them, send them back, because right now, 35% off. Try it yourself for free. The shades rated 5 stars by over 300,000 people. Again, every pair is backed by lost or broken replacements. Now, mine I had for a while because they last. But I love mixing and matching. I love going to the checkout and seeing flash deals. It's like when we're using Game Time, you see the flash deals for events. That Shady Rays does that. But it's like, hey, we're actually clearancing these out. You want them? $10, $15. Add them to your cart. I like to have an inventory of quality shades at not a premium price. Do it today. Save yourself 35% off using the bonus code PHNX.
It's a victorious ending to the story, but it always saddens me to think that we almost lost you that day, that fateful day in Hawaii.
I may or may not have also lost part of my swim trunks too, but I don't tell that part of the story.
The sea was angry, my friends. Look, if you need to hire, you need Indeed. It's just that simple. We love our partnership with Indeed because it's the #1 matching and hiring platform with over 350 million global monthly visitors. That's according to Indeed data. They crunch all the numbers. They make sure they know what kind of impact they're making and that they're doing their very best to match your company with the highest quality candidates. Ditch the busy work. Use Indeed for scheduling, screening, messaging, so you can connect with candidates faster, because it's about getting the most qualified candidates in your door and hired and on your payroll and making big, big moves for you and your company. Maybe did Monti use Indeed to find Hjalte Froholdt? I can't deny that. I don't know if that's in the Indeed data or not, but look, it was a success, and there's successes all across Indeed. Right now, our listeners can get $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/AllCity. Just go to Indeed.com/AllCity right now to support our show by saying you heard about Indeed through PHNX Cardinals. They led you all the way here to find out how to get the best candidates for your job. Indeed.com/AllCity. Terms and conditions apply. You need to hire. You need Indeed.
I'm indeed fired up by these super chats here to kick off segment 2. Big Red Kime with maybe the best avatar of the day. $5. Thank you so much, Big Red Kime. Hey, Bo, you were on the fence about where Tyree Wilson fits in this defense. Hear me out. Hybrid inside linebacker safety got to be worth a 2025 first rounder.
Color me intrigued, Big Red Kime.
Look at that head.
Man, barely fits in that little box that you have for your profile pic. Yeah, hybrid inside linebacker safety for that big-bodied man, 6'6", 270. Perfect. Good call.
AZ Moses 89, 199. Congrats to the Desert Viking Hjalte Froholdt. Absolutely. Yes. Many more kettlebells to be purchased for his home gym. No doubt about it. Thank you, AZ Moses.
How about $20? Always so generous. Friend of the program. Goes to Pat Tilley. Chris Sims said the Cards will revolve around Marvin Harrison Jr. Shows national media doesn't know ball like the Cards, and why this show is a must for Cards fans. Thank you. I'm in a group chat, and it's for my fantasy football league, and there's banding about where to draft Marvin Harrison Jr. I'm shutting my dumb mouth because I don't want to give any information that I've been privy to, but I'll share it with this audience because I've been thinking about it. Like, what kind of rookie year can Marvin Harrison truly have? And when you look at Justin Jefferson, you look at Jamar Chase, like certainly right there in lockstep with their talent, their ability, and in a worse situation scenario, he could go catch 100+ balls for 1,400 yards and 10 touchdowns. But I think he's going into a situation where the infrastructure is there, especially where what they want to do in the run game with James Conner and crew and what this offensive line's geared up to do. And that's run block. And then Michael Wilson, Trey McBride, Greg Dortch, like all the mouths to feed. Like, I think like he's going to be good fantasy wise, and long term, he's going to be really good fantasy wise. I just don't know if I'm going out there and spending like a high pick on him just yet.
Many of you may not know this. We are doing a fantasy football draft August 29th at Gila River Resorts and Casinos, 100% free. We'll put the link in the description. I want to see everybody there. Same place we had our draft party. I'm participating. Bo is participating. Many of your favorite PHNX personalities will be there. And I bring that up, Bo, because I'm going to make a claim right now.
Oh,
I will leave Gila River Resorts and Casinos that night with Marvin Harrison Jr. on my team.
Wow. The guy who was the least in on the hold the line movement he's called his shot, Damon, and he's holding the line fantasy wise for MHJ. What are your thoughts, comments?
That's a nice thought, Johnny, but it's not all Pepsi and Skittles for dinner. It's not all unicorn and rainbows. This is going to be a draft filled with, predominantly Cardinals fans, people that think MHJ is a generational talent, people that held the line throughout the entire process, you not included. Oh. And it's going to be an interesting one to see if you get him or not.
Well, I'm going to play the crowd 100%, and we want to see you all there. Again, we're going to drop the link in the description. 100% free. Come hang out August 29th, Gila River Resorts and Casinos. I think it's 6:30 is the start time. And again, like I'm going to tell you right now, I do deserve Marv, Bo's digested steak. I would rather have Marv than Breece Hall. I'm sorry. I would rather have Marv than Bijan Robinson. I'm putting it out there right now. Marvin Harrison Jr. in our PPR league. Don't make that face at me. Is worth his weight in gold. I'm just a little bit sour that you guys have seemingly sold your Marv stock. Has this preseason of non-news really cast a shadow on what Marv is going to be? Which I think he is going to have a Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase type rookie.
You think 1,400 yards, double-digit tutties?
I think an indirect result of this fledgling pass rush is going to mean we're throwing. It's late in the game. Unless the Cardinals can take the lead the entire game, a la Pittsburgh last year, and run the football, they're going to need to throw early to win games. And who's going to be the benefactor of that? Number 18.
You're speaking like a guy who's been in contention for Waffle House now back-to-back seasons, and that's exactly who you are. I love Marvin Harrison Jr.
You hate him.
And what he brings to the Arizona Cardinals and what he's going to do in real football, fantasy football-wise. Like, I would love him as my number 2 wide receiver on my team. And I think realistically, he's going to eclipse 1,000 yards. It's going to be around 1,100 yards. But there are some big fish out there that are poised for like 1,400, 1,500 yard seasons. I think that's in his future. Just don't think it's right now. So you in a non-keeper league, go ahead, take Marv just to try to make yourself feel better for where you were
for brownie points.
Yeah, exactly.
He wants it so that the good fine folks of this podcast, say, "Yay, Johnny, you did so good. We love you." And that's, it's a little sad, but it's okay.
He's going to come back to him. He's like, "Hey, hold the line, guys. I held it."
Bo and Damon hate Marvin.
Right. Hey, hold the line. Am I right? And we're like, "You disgust me."
These comments, Johnny, you will get booed if you draft MHJ.
We will. No, Bo and I will be leading the charge on that. We're gonna galvanize the crowd there, and we're gonna get them to start the booing.
Yeah.
How about this? Johnny drafts Joe Alt. If you want to come party with us, hang out at Gila River Resorts. It's a week from Thursday at Wild Horse Pass, the site of our 2024 NFL Draft Party. It's the first time I've been back since the draft, and I'm going to be leaving home just like I did that night with one MHJ. I will not touch Ladd McConkey, not even if I have a priority free agent selection will I touch Ladd McConkey. I do deserve MHJ. No Animal TV. I'm not taking Tip Ryman. Never. You talk about a non-factor. Never.
Even if there's a fire?
Even if there's a fire.
Yeah. What if the unbelievable draft that we're gonna have, like we get locked in that room and the person says the only way you get out is if Johnny selects Tip Ryman here in the 9th round of the
get your sleeping bags out. I'm not doing it. Get out your griddles and your sleeping bags. We're staying the night. Sorry. Say goodbye to my family on FaceTime. I'm not taking him. Consensus in the chat. People don't want Marv to come to my team. I thought I was playing to the crowd. I have to rethink my strategy a little bit. AZ Moses 89 199. Johnny channeling his inner Kime for fantasy draft. That's, I think, the perfect segue into
can I just say this? I do want to end that conversation with I'll be sick with jealousy if somebody outside of this show gets Marv.
Like a toe tree.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Or Derek from D-backs.
Oh, gross. Sick. I don't want that either. We have we do have a bit of a job to do. What's the earliest? Like you guys are, poo-pooing my strategy of getting Marv in the first round, no matter where I'm at. What's the earliest either of you would take Marv?
Probably like 17, 18. I think his range is
no way.
21st.
Mid-second round.
Are you kidding me? In a PPR league?
There's too many mouths to feed in this offense. You ever heard of Trey McBride, bro?
Yeah.
Never heard of him.
He claims Mina Kime says he's the leader of the McBride's Made movement.
Johnny has his arms just all over the place in everybody's pocket.
Could be McBride in the second round for your boy. MHJ in the first round, McBride in the second round. Thursday, a week from Thursday is going to be my night because then I'm going to have the cold reality of what my team's going to look like during the year. But I'm going to make the most of Thursday, and you should too. Come out to Wild Horse Pass. Let's have a good time. All right. Well, before we get to Steve Kime, because it's horrifying, I do want to talk a little bit. We'll talk some real football here.
Okay.
You can't draft him in fantasy, but you can sure as hell watch him this Sunday and for the Arizona Cardinals. So 2 darlings of the preseason. I'm going to ask my counterpart here after we look at some statistics. Is it real or is it preseason? Let's start first with this Xavier Thomas. Xavier Thomas, according to PFF, leads the entire rookie class, doesn't matter position, in QB pressures this preseason with 8. That's not, hey, 5th rounders. That's not outside. That's every defender that was drafted. He leads them all with 8. Now, put a caveat on that. He's played a lot. He's had a lot of opportunities where even guys like Darius Robinson, they're sitting. Is Latu even playing in these games? Some of these premier defenders. So I'm going to ask you, Bo Brack, Xavier Thomas, is it real or is it preseason?
Oh, man. Can I be political and say it's somewhere in between?
No, you have to give me an answer.
Oh, man. Look, are Dallas Turner and Latu, are they playing as many snaps as Xavier Thomas? Because Xavier Thomas is playing a ton.
Yeah.
I'm going to say it's real because I think he's very realistically going to be in this pass rush rotation.
Okay.
And I think that he, in a role, is going to generate pressures against opposing quarterbacks because who else is going to do it? And I think he's going to be able to, but then I think that there's also going to be some learning curves as far as, some other responsibilities that are asked of these outside linebacker in the Arizona Cardinals defense, as far as, setting an edge or, getting into coverage. I know you guys don't like me to talk about the outside linebackers getting into coverage on this show, but that's one of their responsibilities. So I think it's real.
I will disagree. I think until I see it within the regular season, respectfully, like I feel like if you're a fifth rounder and you come in, you chop it up in the preseason, a lot of it comes in the second half against second and third stringers. I don't want to poo-poo this guy's long-term future with the Cardinals, but I've said from day one, and I'm going to stick with it. I'm going to be a man of my word here. Like I think it's foolish to expect a fifth-round rookie that had minimal sack production to just magically fix your pass rush situation. So doesn't mean it can't be future real in future seasons. Like it can't be a thing this time next year or the year after, and he can develop. But I think for this year, like I think you're going to see the pass rush production go dramatically down. Number one, I don't think he's going to get the opportunities. And I think they're going to be much more likely to go with the veterans that are more sound and schematic with what they want to do. I'm excited about the pick. I'm willing to already say that the pick is a hit, but unlike Dante Stills last year, yes, he earned opportunities, but he was also thrust into the lineup because they didn't have anything else. Like Dennis Gardeck and Xavier Thomas are going to play over him, right? Cameron Thomas could play over him. They could get a street free agent. So I am reluctant to say it's real for 2024.
Okay. I mean, I think he's going to get some opportunities.
I hope so.
Yeah.
I want to be wrong on that. Yeah. All right, let's keep this party going here. How about a fellow
Chat's on fire right now? Chat is absolutely.
Everybody liked this video too.
Yeah.
Let's get this to 400 likes here.
There was a moment, and there was just a barrage of just elite chats. But one stood out to me where Johnny was talking about who he could take, and K2 said Dan Chinchilla just because of your
With some of my later picks, K2, there are going to be some Cardinals thrown in there. They have no business getting drafted. 100%. 100%. All right. Sticking with day 3 picks. PFF Darlings, highest graded day 3 picks, according to Pro Football Focus. Not even close. Dadrion Taylor-Demerson, 88.8 overall through 2 preseason games, dwarfing the likes of James Williams and Ray Davis, Tanner McLaughlin. It's an interesting topic of conversation. You would assume Taylor-Demerson already the safety number 3 for the Arizona Cardinals. I'm impressed with his tackling. I'm even more impressed, Bo, with his coverage skills, which according to PFF, 90 grade over the past weekend, flipping elite. Now there's a high bar going into the starting lineup. Is this real or is this preseason for Taylor-Demerson?
So now I'll go with this as preseason just because the opportunity to find the field with Budda Baker, Jalen Thompson, Garrett Williams in the fold, it's going to be tough for, I think, a 4th round rookie, even though I think long term, I kind of flip-flop from where you were with Xavier Thomas.
I think this is real. I'm on the record of saying it's real. I think he is going to play a lot this year. We know Brian Baldinger likes him. I'm anxious to talk to Trevor Sikkema about him later in the show. But his coverage skills, and this is not a shot at Budda Baker. I think his coverage skills at some point this year, based on his age and his speed and his athleticism, are going to eclipse Budda's. Now, doesn't replace Budda's moxie, his experience, his leadership, his ability to tackle. Budda is still an A+ safety in my eyes. But this kid had 10 interceptions at Texas Tech. He's a big-time college prospect. A lot of people assumed he would go higher than he did. And he's got the kingmaker of all kingmakers at his head coach who deals better with safeties, in my opinion, than anybody else.
Yeah.
It has looked seamless. And he has played in just 2 preseason games. This is very real. I don't want to say out of respect for Buddha, like he's going to be a starter.
So give
by
me
the
the
end of the year.
package where Rabbit takes the field.
I mean, I think you could put Jalen Thompson at slot corner if necessary, and you could put Taylor-Demerson. Taylor-Demerson almost feels like he could play the center field safety role if they needed him to.
And so you would have Sean Murphy Bunting outside corner. Would you have Garrett Williams, Max
Maybe.
Melton outside corner?
It just depends. I mean, Garrett Williams can play inside and outside, but again, like, could you go 3 safeties, 1 or 2 that have really high end coverage skills in Jalen Thompson? I mean, could you have Buda Baker as a kind of a nickel linebacker in that situation, and then Taylor-Demerson and Jalen Thompson? I'm going with guys late in games who can cover receivers, and this kid can cover receivers from the safety position. We saw it. That step in front interception against the Colts is big time. We know what Jalen Thompson could do. I'm already predicting Jalen Thompson to have a Pro Bowl caliber season. So his skill set jumps off the screen. I think it translates better. Where Xavier Thomas, again, I have been fooled more times than I care to admit by pass rushers, rotational guys having big preseasons that don't do jack during the regular season. I'm not saying that's going to happen to him, but this kid was almost a top 100 pick for a reason. Like the same attributes that I saw that jumped off the screen from like Michael Wilson last year, I see that with Taylor-Demerson. I just think he's going to force the issue for this team. He's too good an athlete.
No. I think that it's just a numbers game to where there's opportunity for XT, where with DTD, it's tough to crack the field with where that spot's more solidified with the trio we saw last year. So, but look, if either way you go, like if one of those guys, a 4th round pick, a 5th round pick, is making an impact on defense, good on Monti Ossenfort. If both of them, then my God.
Do you want to make a bet right now who plays more snaps?
Yeah.
I'll place a bet with you right now here on August 21st that Taylor-Demerson plays more snaps than Xavier Thomas.
Okay.
What do you want to? Our steak dinner. Who pays for the steak dinner at St. Elmo's?
Okay. Are you gonna eat it though? Like if you win, or am I just burning money?
I don't know why you say that. I don't know why that's necessary. I also don't know why this is necessary. I saw Steve Keim's face all over the internet before.
Hey, by the way, real quick, the bet.
Yeah.
If Buddha or JT gets injured,
doesn't matter. I don't care about injuries. There's injuries at your position already. You already have a hedge. You lost BJ Ojulari.
All right, fine.
And don't talk about injuries.
Just saying. I'm sticking with the bet.
Stick with it. Virtual shake. Taylor-Demerson more snaps than Xavier Thomas.
Do you want any input on this? Who you riding with here?
It's tough because I think there is a spot for a third safety to play a decent amount of snaps, especially if there is an injury. And Buddha wasn't healthy last year.
That's right.
But Xavier Thomas, without an injury, is going to play no matter what. So I really could go either way. But if I had to pick, I'll probably go with Xavier Thomas.
Wow.
But I think it'll be really close. It's a good bet.
It's an excellent bet. Can't wait to collect.
When you thought Damon was going with you, you were just like, wow, great points. Good point, Damon. And then as soon as he turned a little bit on you wanted to, with all due respect, fire him.
I think Xavier Thomas is the safer pick there, right? And Taylor-Demerson is a definitely more of a risky call on Johnny's part.
No, I disagree. I
feel like credit. That was a compliment to you.
I was saying you're a hot take guy, and you're putting it on the table here.
I would rather Taylor-Demerson was drafted like 50 spots ahead of Xavier Thomas, and I know that that's not the end all be all, but it took this guy to be a player this year. He looks like a flipping player now. He may not even play Sunday. Could be given the Darius Robinson treatment. God, you guys are gonna be sweating it on Sunday if Xavier Thomas is out there in the 3rd preseason game. Taylor-Demerson's on the bench like this, like your boy. All right, let's get to Steve Keim. Can we talk about Steve Keim?
Yes, please.
All right, Steve Keim is doing his thing, doing evaluations of high school kids.
Well, here we are preparing for a show, and going through comments, Hjalte Froholdt, the new Arizona Cardinals organization, the JG era, and we're liking it, right? As the season
Yeah.
quickly approaches, and then coming up on our Twitter timeline, X, whatever you call it, and you got Adam Schefter tweeted out about former Cardinals GM who unceremoniously resigned before the end of the 2020 season and his new business venture that we've talked about on this show, along with this picture. Can we see this, Damon? Picture of former Cards GM Steve Keim. Oh my God. This, because I'm sure Keim had to provide Schefter with a picture to promote his business, right? And this is the best one he had.
Somebody in the chat said jump scare.
What's scarier, this or the DJ Dallas one?
This.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
But I don't want you to clip this for the show. I don't want to ever see this again. This is a one-off. That I'm not
going to know how I got these scars.
Oh
That's what this tells me. This is scary.
I can't read off some of these comments in the chat, but I encourage everybody to look at them because they are white hot right now. Listen, you try to make a living. I can't believe that that's the photo he approved, but then again, his judgment in the draft was so bad. Maybe he's just like, that one right there. You see my face? Perfect.
This is Adam Gase level at his press conference.
Adam Gase, crazy eyes introductory
it's
press.
Same energy for sure.
Will he ever be in the NFL again?
I logic would say no, but this guy's operating on different rules.
So you think he could? I think he could become like an advisor to somebody. He could scheme his way up and be like special advisor to so and so for a bad franchise. I drafted Tyron and I drafted.
I agree with the chat. Animal TV, Eris, K2. Like, it should be a hard no. But this guy's he's a draft analyst, for God's sake, on a major network. 2 years in a row. He's got this. This is like a, Schefter's tweet was like a win to open up his and promote his new company.
Man, we've got a lot of contacts, that's for sure.
Let's get that picture back up one more time.
Do we have to?
Yeah. Undersized receiver, you say?
Where'd you go to school? If it has a 1 in front of it, I don't want to talk about it.
You didn't play in the Power 5 conference? All right, let's talk.
Sorry, I'm looking for your games to start right around 9 p.m. on Saturday nights. If I can't find, if it should take me 30 minutes to find your game on TV if I'm going to draft you in the first 2 rounds. Sir, I played for Ohio State
forever. Let's retire it.
We can't because it's part of Big Red Keim's avatar here. He's got another super. Or no, that's the one from earlier. AZ Moses is back, 89, saying I channeled my inner Keim for this fantasy draft. Might have already read that, but it's on brand. Maybe that makes me rethink my strategy now. People are comparing it to Steve Keim-esque. We're going to get Trevor Sikkema's advice on maybe future draft prospects, although hopefully not too crazy. We're just dipping our toe in here on PHNX Cardinals. But before we talk to our guy, Trevor Sikkema, I want to talk to you about the place of our draft party and our fantasy football party, Gila River Resorts and Casinos, Wild Horse Pass. Again, come out for the event. It's free. Come out any other day because, well, it's elite. They've got 4,500 slots and live table games. Catch anything at the sports book, which is open, which has got the hard copy tickets, baby. Nobody does it better. And again, I know this, I say this a lot, but I sincerely mean it. And I know everybody who's been there means it. It's one of the cleanest places I've ever been to, on top of the fact that it's a casino sports book. The lounge areas are fantastic. The food is next level. A Shula's Steakhouse, right? It's still pool season. Go up top, swim in their pool. I mean, it is a place where, okay, you're looking to take maybe a weekend vacation with the fam, with the wife, with the spouse, but you don't want to leave the state and don't want to break the bank. Check them out. Gila River Resorts and Casinos. Of course, our fave here, Wild Horse Pass. They got one Santan Mountain, which is fantastic. Multiple locations, 4 to be exact. Experience what the Valley has to offer, which is the very best. And again, just like our fantasy football outing, we will be hosting events there throughout the season for Cards and for our Phoenix Suns beat, watch parties, and more. Stay tuned. We do a bunch of cool one-offs, and most of the time, it's of your benefit because it's free. Our fantasy football party, free. Come hang out. Get some food, get some beverages. Perfect way to kick off card season with us. Gila River Resorts and Casinos. We will see you at Wild Horse Pass a week from Thursday, Bo.
You know what makes me smile like ex-Cardinals GM Steve Keim does in that picture?
What's that?
Thinking back when I was driving that Ford F-150 XLT, man, tough to find, better times than behind the wheel of that bit.
You gonna cry?
Bad boy. Yeah, I do get a little choked up just thinking about it. I had to return it after the weekend test drive that the good people at Sanderson Ford allowed me to have. It was elite. My family loved it. My wife was all about the space in the back seat where we could put the kids' child seat plus some luggage, move things around. You could easily fit some your family pets in there as well. Sanderson Ford, the Ford F-150, the XLT, or any of the other different packages, it's where it's at, and you can save money right now. You can get in with the no haggle, obviously negotiations, no pressure, no nonsense sales approach. It's going to get you into the vehicle that you're seeking with 0% financing for 36 months, no payments for 90 days on the F-150, the Escape, the Edge, the Explorer, the Expedition. Also, they're backing our guys, the Snakes, the D-backs. They have a playoff push right now. It's part of their playoff push summer sale. No hassle, no pressure, no nonsense. They're giving you playoffs, 0% financing. Just added a huge Labor Day sell-a-thon with rebates up to $3,400. Purchase or lease any new Ford. Get 4 tickets. See Diamondbacks push for the playoffs. All offers expire on September 3rd. Finance offers 36 months OAC through Ford Motor Credit, up to $3,400 in rebates on the F-150 XLT. It's 0% for 36 months OAC Ford Credit. See dealer for details.
I'm going to get to the super chat real fast. Doc XD, $2, friend of the program. Say Cards 16-0, starters for 17-0 season or bench. Not sure I follow that, Bo.
Say Cards 16-0, starters for 17-0 season or bench. I don't know, man. Doc, you can explain yourself in the comments.
Doc, it's like a riddle. You can explain it just, straight up too.
Yeah.
That'd be another super chat.
Here's what, if the Cardinals were 16-0, would you guys start the starters in weeks 18?
Yes.
Or would you bench them?
For the Cardinals organization, no doubt about it.
You start them.
You need that to be one of the few franchises to have an undefeated season.
One franchise.
There's that
regular season. We're talking regular season here.
Come on.
Yes. Cardinals need good. We just need good history, man. We're just trying to build good history. We're making history here with our number 18 collection right now.
Yeah.
Shop it today. PHNXlocker.com. Again, I've been getting DMs from people and they're like, I'm blown away by the quality of these shirts. And I'm like, well, you shouldn't be. We tell you every day about how great they are. And you can get one for free right now by becoming a diehard at gophnx.com. Let's see these shirts on the full screen here. Of course, my co-host was just talking about a sweet ride. How about this sweet ride? The Maserati Marv, baby. Right in front of a certain stadium you guys may know and love. And then, of course, in dead center, MHJ, the all-black tee, my favorite tee we've ever done at this fine company. And then on the far right-hand side, a little bit of math for your boys. 1 + 18 = 6. We are roughly 2.5 weeks away from hopefully that becoming a reality on each and every football Sunday. You can't cop a number 18 jersey yet unless it belongs to AJ Green, but you can shop the number 18 collection right now, PHNXlocker.com. Again, become a diehard today. You will not regret it. 20% off future orders, free t-shirts, free merch. Can't go wrong with the 18 collection in PHNX Cardinals.
Yeah, and as I mentioned, we've got the trip coming up to Miami. PHNX is we're teaming up with our friends over at TrueFanTravel.com. You do not want to miss this trip. It's going to be me, Johnny, Damon, Dawg, Britt and Golden, the GM, Saul Bookman, the PHNX crew. We are packing our bags because that's really all we have to do because True Fan Travel has the rest covered. We're headed to Miami. We're going to go see the Arizona Cardinals visit the Miami Dolphins on a road game, October 25th through 28th. All you have to do, buy your package today, lock it in, and they've got financing options for you, and they're going to get you, obviously, round-trip airfare. Also, you're going to get transportation to and from the airport. You got your hotel set up as well. We got a welcome party. How about you get a chance to meet Cardinals alumni and booze cruise and so much more. You're not going to want to miss out on this. TrueFanTravel.com, go PHNX.com/events for all the details that on this trip that you're not going to want to miss out on. Plus the extracurriculars that we're going to get into, just hanging out, 24/7 with the PHNX Cardinals podcast, with me, with Johnny, with Damon, being a part of the crew the entire time. It's not like, hey, good to see you, and then we go into like a green room and just hang out. No, we're going to be hanging out the entire time.
You're going to get
in your spot
today so much.
Yeah. You're not even going to watch the podcast any longer. Like, I can't stand Johnny anymore.
I'm going to be up in your face.
Yeah, his dumb loafers, they suck. And I'm over it. So join us. It's going to be elite. It's going to be the best thing we've ever done here at PHNX. It's going to be an unbelievable trip. Lock in your spot today. Season can't get here soon enough. One more preseason game left, but hey, we got week 0 of the college football season. That means we can start to look towards the 2025 NFL draft. Who better to bring on, talk some draft, talk some rookies from the previous draft class than our guy, Trevor Sikkema, all over the place. Of course, PFF lead draft analyst and co-host of the NFL Stock Exchange podcast with Connor Rogers over there. It's just fantastic work. They did their breakdown as far as what the Cardinals needed to do this offseason, and they did some really intriguing things. Trev, how we doing, my man?
Fellas, I'm doing great. I appreciate you having me on the show as always on the eve of the regular season. I know we were just chit-chatting before we hit record, but it's funny, like we wait so long. It's like, oh, finally, football is back. And then we're sitting here like, all right, well, I actually wanted to see the starters a little bit more during the preseason. It feels like that's kind of all over the place throughout the NFL. So I know that all fans, Cardinals fans included, are excited to get the regular season kicked off. So I'm excited to talk about it here with you.
Yeah, football's back, but is it really back? We were chatting about Marvin Harrison Jr. and while he made a brief appearance in the first preseason game for all but it's 3 snaps, I think he took. Most of his damage has been done in practice, and I know, Trev, you've had an opportunity to see a little bit of that, but like just what you've seen from snippets on the Twitter streets and what you've written and what you've read, like, is he living up to your expectations? Because again, like Malik Neighbors is getting targeted, I think, in New York Giants preseason outings, like 1 out of every 3 passes from Daniel Jones. Like, that's not Marv yet, but I think when we fast forward to week 1, that's very much going to be the expectation of everybody here in the Valley.
I think so. And that's what we're seeing, right? I mean, like even just the handful of training camp clips that we've seen from him, it shows you that they're going to lean on him a ton in the passing game. And yeah, Malik Neighbors is obviously playing a little bit more during these preseason games. And we knew that they were going to build that passing offense around him. And I don't know if it's going to be quite to Neighbors level, because I far like the drop off between Malik Neighbors and the next guy that they would want to go to for the Giants, all due respect to them as NFL players, it's not as far of a drop as like, okay, like obviously Marvin Harrison Jr., we expect him to handle wide receiver 1 responsibilities, but like I think this could be a big year for Michael Wilson, right? I think that obviously Trey McBride is somebody who they have a lot of faith in as well. This is a running game that they absolutely love, where again, like you compare and contrast like Marvin Harrison Jr. versus Malik Neighbors. They're still trying to figure out the run game with the Giants. So like truly everything, the only piece of the identity that they know they're going to lean into is with Malik Neighbors in New York. And I just think that the ball is going to get spread out a little bit more, especially when you have a quarterback that has the ability to do it. Again, all due respect to Daniel Jones. But Kyler Murray, I have a little bit more faith in to really be able to spread the love around a little bit. So that's what you want, though. I think we want to see those high-end plays from him. It doesn't have to quite be the volume of he's going to lead every single rookie receiver in every single category. It feels like he's still going to be exactly what this offense needs going into this year.
We have seen a couple of their draft picks, actually a pretty successful run in the first 2 games from their entire draft class. And I want to get to Xavier Thomas. I want to get to Robert Taylor-Demerson, who was a PFF darling this past week, highly graded out. But let's stay in the first round real quick. We have seen a little bit more of a sample size from Darius Robinson, 10 snaps in his first game. What are realistic expectations for Darius going into his first year with the Cardinals?
Yeah, I think it's a good question, right? And I think it's something that's worth talking about for people that cover the beat like you do, where, Darius Robinson, really good, just overall football player. Like, he's somebody that you want on your team. But when you look at him and his skill set, especially his journey from Missouri to kind of where he is now, started out as an interior defensive lineman, loses a little bit of weight. They put him out towards the edge because they noticed, like, hey, this guy's got a lot of explosiveness. We might be able to play him as that kind of heavy-handed 4-3 powerful defensive end in our system. And Missouri got a lot of return on him. Now, it wasn't truly like a stat stuffing season at Missouri. So you're not going to expect to see a ton of that in the NFL, especially as a rookie. So if Darius Robinson ends up getting somewhere between like 4 to 6 sacks this season, I don't want people to look at him and go, man, what a bust this was. Like, he can't even get after the passer. He is in his own journey right now. And I think that when you go back to especially the Senior Bowl, which is a pivotal part of the draft process for him and what ended up allowing him to become a first-round pick, is it felt like no matter who he was going up against, the size, the strength, the power, that was just NFL level already, even for the first couple of practice snaps that we watched down in Mobile. So for him, he is as much, Darius Robinson to me is as much of a, I'm elevating the floor of the defensive line as much as what you hope is elevating the ceiling as well. It just means that no matter what you call, and Jonathan Gannon, we saw this when he was in Philadelphia, it was a really deep defensive line in Philadelphia. They want to be rotational. They want to be multiple. Yeah, you're going to kind of have your structure that you let go to with the guys, and you're going to emphasize a lot of their strengths. But with Darius Robinson, to me, it was like a, okay, well, if they want to play 3 down linemen this player, if they want to play 4 down linemen the next, or if they want to go to a bear front on the goal line, like, this is somebody who you can expect to play at a high level for you, not look lost, not look overpowered, no matter what the formation is. We throw around the word versatility a lot when draft season comes around. Not everybody actually holds up to that word the way that I think a lot of draft analysts just kind of talk about it. But Robinson truly is. And so you're right, not a ton of snaps from him in the preseason, but he is somebody who, if he's not a sack master this year, it's okay. Like, I think that it can still be viewed as a successful season for him if a lot of the other stuff is going well around him, if he's keeping the linebackers clean behind him, if he's holding the line of scrimmage very well and opening things up for those guys on the interior too. So I think that for him, it's going to be much more of a, you got to really watch the games, and selfishly, I'll say the PFF grades beyond just those sack stats that a lot of people like to look at.
Trev, if we could, let's stick on the Cardinal defensive line. About 2.5 weeks ago, they lost what a lot of people thought was going to be their sack master for 2024. And unfortunately, B.J. Ojulari teared his ACL.
Yeah.
And we're at the point in the offseason, if you can even call it that, the preseason, where there aren't a lot of options, if any, to replace Ojulari. And right now, it looks like they're very much sticking to the in-house approach. They're going to try to go maybe a collective mixed bag from everybody. And then yet there's a player out in New York that's got a rapport with Jonathan Gannon in Hassan Reddick, who may or may not be available. The Cardinals potentially inquiring on Hassan Reddick. Like, what's your take on his potential availability? And would you see this being an avenue in which the Cardinals could and would explore if the Jets are finally like, we're done doing this, we're going to move on, we're going to go with the guys we have in house?
Yeah, it's really tough to lose a player when you do, especially one that you had a lot of hopes for, like Ojulari. I was really excited to see him as well this year. I know my co-host over at the NFL Stock Exchange, Connor Rogers, he was big on Ojulari during that draft class. And so we're excited to see it. And so it just, the timing sucks. The fact that it happened sucks. Obviously, Hassan Reddick being out there makes things intriguing, because normally, when you say like, hey, they're kind of looking in-house, a lot of times when you get to this point of the year, you don't really have any other choice, right? You're trying to manage and come up with the best 53-man roster that you can amongst the guys that you sort of chose and drafted and signed as undrafted free agents. So you're really focused on the guys that are in-house. Anyways, it's hard to do a lot of scouting outside of the building, especially for a lot of players that at this point in time, let's face it, the good pass rushers already are on teams. Like it's not like it's sort of like offensive tackles, right? Good pass protectors. They ain't just sitting out there, right? And if they are, there's kind of a reason why. So Reddick being sort of available, I guess, like the Jets have kind of come out and said, like, we're not trading you. But at the same time, it's like, all right, well, if you can get value for somebody that's not going to play for you, where is the give and take? Like, where is the end of the journey here for Hassan Reddick? Is it going to be staying with the Jets, or is it going to be elsewhere? he'd be a huge help to this Arizona Cardinals defense. I mean, there's no doubt about it. Again, I think that they were really looking for increased production from BJ Ojulari, and they were hoping that, like you mentioned, like he could be their sack leader this year. So you would be able to bring in a guy like Reddick, who would have familiarity with Gannon's defense, had success in that in the alignment that he had him in. And so there's no doubt about it. I'm sure that Monti Ossenfort has reached out, whether it's something that's sort of like public or not, like just to figure out, like, hey, what's the price? Are we interested in this at all? Or is Joe Douglas picking up the phone and just saying, no, stop calling? So whatever it is, you pick up the phone and you figure it out, because you're right. If he could make his way back to Arizona, this time as more of an edge rusher, it would be something that could really help out this team. I've
had to tell Johnny that myself and say, hey man, just a text will suffice, man. And stop calling me. It's 10 o'clock at night. My kid's asleep. Hey, you know, speaking about that edge rush unit, somebody who's flashed this preseason has been Xavier Thomas. Not super productive at Clemson. He was on the Van Wilder program. He played 6 seasons in Clemson. He was on the 2018 team with Isaiah Simmons, my guy.
Yeah.
But, you know, 2 sacks in 2 games. I know, you know, the Colts offensive tackle fell down literally on one play, but still got to the quarterback. Did anything point to Xavier Thomas's game to where he could be more productive at the NFL level than he was at the collegiate level?
Oh, I think 100%. I mean, I had him as the 10th best edge rusher in last year's class. And I think that the talent level that this guy has is very obvious. I mean, he was a 5-star player. I think he was like the number 3 overall player in that 2018 recruiting class. You know, It took him a little bit to kind of figure it out when he was at Clemson. And then it was sort of this timing. I think it was his junior year. Maybe it was his senior year. I can't remember. He just like had a bunch of injuries, and it just ended up being like terrible timing. And
he was up like, over 300 pounds.
Right. Yeah. And he talked about that. I think that was after COVID maybe, or I can't remember exactly what the timeline was, but when you look at it, you go, okay, why was this guy in college for so long? And when you actually look at his journey, you can look at it and say, okay, this actually makes sense. I'm not just trying to cope here. Like, we're not just looking at this through rose-colored glasses. It does make sense why he was at Clemson as long as he was. And it also makes sense that he could still be a impactful player at the NFL level. I remember watching him at the East-West Shrine Bowl this past year. And I mean, he was destroying offensive tackles. It felt like every day he had what could have been the play of the day, especially from the trenches and the defensive lines from both practice teams. So this is a really talented football player, extremely explosive, violent, fast hands. He doesn't have the bend that some of those other pass rushers do, but the frenetic play style in a good way. I mean, he looks like he sucks to block. Like, he's just when you have offensive tackles who are trying to stay in front of him, I mean, he is chopping at the forearms, the hands are going everywhere. It's the motor is running hot at all times. And the pass rushers, sometimes I found that it's the pass rushers that are the most annoying that maybe can be the ones that consistently get into the backfield. And when you combine that sort of motor with the explosiveness that Xavier Thomas has, I figured that this would also be a little bit of a learning curve for him, but I also like the scheme in which Jonathan Gannon plays for him to be able to do a lot of 2-point stand-up outside linebacker rusher type of work. So I do like Xavier Thomas as somebody who could be a surprise little fill-in to make up at least sort of a little bit of that production that you were hoping to get from Ojulari.
At the time of this recording, Trev, PFF has the highest graded day 3 picks available from 2024's draft. And at the top by a rather large margin with 88.8, 4th rounder for the Cardinals safety, Dadrion Taylor-Demerson. And we've had an opportunity to watch him. And it's not just the grades. He jumps off screen with his play. An interception last week against the Colts, bunch of tackles for losses in the preseason week 1. You know, we always joke on the show, Jonathan Gannon's a kingmaker of defensive back play, specifically safety. He was a defensive back safety himself at the University of Louisville. And you think about Budda Baker, last year of his contract, Taylor-Demerson slides right in this preseason as kind of an impact player. I mean, is there a reality right now with his trajectory, albeit through 2 games, where this kid's not vying for a starting role this time next year?
Yeah, no, I believe it 100%. Like, this is another guy that I got to watch firsthand at the East-West Shrine Bowl. And I remember, I have a lot of practice notes that I'll take throughout the day. And one of the first practice notes that I had from the first practice in the defense that he was a part of was, this is day 1. and he was talking to the other safety and the linebacker in front of him, telling them where to be. It's day one. This is a new coaching staff. He got plopped down with this coaching staff and this playbook at the same time as everybody else. And he's sitting here day one, like, no, you're over here. I'm over here. This is the check. Like, this is what we're doing. And I saw him, get a couple of interceptions in practice as well. And, I think there's always some nuance to sort of sometimes these interceptions that you get in practice. And the throws could look so bad where it's like, oh, of course he had an interception. The throw was so bad. But with DTD's interception that I specifically remember watching in practice, it was an overthrow, right? I mean, like the throw was, it was an overthrow. It was not a good throw. But DTD was right there to get it. And I go, that's also a skill though, because you think about you are even in the area to capitalize on a missed throw. He was exactly where he needed to be, but it wasn't as much like, oh, just right place, right time. He just got lucky. No, he put himself at the right place at the right time. And I think when you watch this past game, and I watched all of his snaps against the Colts, because I saw his high grade as well, and I was super excited about it. The confidence in which he moves already is not normal for a rookie safety. Think about all the ground and responsibility that you have as a rookie safety. Yeah. You have to cover so much ground. There's so much responsibility on you. It's that battle in your head of like, okay, do I get aggressive and try to go make a play on the ball because I'm trying to stand out in camp? Or do I make sure that I am truly a safety, if you will, and don't give up the big play over top of me? It's the inner battle that every single safety has. And it felt like he just made the right decisions almost every single time when I watched him against the Colts. So yeah, I'm not trying to, blow it up too much because, again, it's preseason. But for him to be so confident day one of Shrine Bowl practices, and for him to already look as confident as he does in game 2 of the preseason with the Cardinals, to me, that tells me, all right, what I saw in draft season was not a fluke. This is something this is a confident, smart football player who feels like he is going to be a starter sooner rather than later in this league.
Last question for our guy, Trevor Sikkema. Make sure you're following him on Twitter at Tampa Bay Trey for all the draft insight. You're checking out the PFF Fantasy Mock Draft Simulator. It's going to get you ready for all your big days for your team out there. And, of course, the NFL Draft Mock Simulator, which is elite. I've got it up actually in front of me right now because my last question is, at this time last year, we were all locking in. Like, Johnny and I have no allegiance to the Midwest, to Ohio State, but we were scarlet and gray the entire season starting now because of Marv. We were locking in for that. Things kind of shift, it feels like, this year, kind of maybe looking to the defensive side of the football. We talked about the edge. Who are a couple key college players that Cardinals fans should keep an eye on starting maybe as early as this week?
Yeah, I mean, there's, we just went through, especially, I'll stick with the defensive line unless you guys want me to go elsewhere. But, defensive line specifically, you look at the interior players, Mason Graham could be from Michigan, could be the first defensive tackle taken number 1 overall since 1994. Wow. I mean, this dude is that good. Now, I will say, of course, it's sort of the door is open a little bit because the quarterback class is not as solidified as it was. Like if Caleb Williams were in this upcoming class, okay, we'd still be talking about him at number 1. But Mason's a damn good player. I think he's a top 5 type of a player in this class. He might just be the number 1 overall player on my big board going into the season. I got one more position at safeties to kind of figure out before I get the final preseason big board out there. But man, his teammate Kenneth Grant at Michigan as well, a unique, massive, almost like 350, 340 pound defensive lineman, but he's got quick footwork. He's got a little finesse to his game. Jim Harbaugh called Kenneth Grant and Mason Graham gifts from the football gods. That's how he talked about these interior defensive linemen. Deion Walker is 6'6", 350 pounds, the defensive tackle from Kentucky. I mean, he is somebody who obviously has a first round ceiling as well. There's a couple other guys that are very exciting on the interior defensive line class. And then you don't have an edge rusher like a Nick Bosa or a Jadeveon Clowney or a Myles Garrett that's going to command 100% like that number 1 overall spot. But there's a lot of good edge rushers there. There's a lot of guys who I think could litter the first round, even though it's not going to be necessarily in that top 3. Nick Scourton, who is at Purdue, now at Texas A&M. He is my number 1 edge rusher going in the class. Mykel Williams, a top recruit from Georgia. He's been playing ever since he was a true freshman. Now he is draft eligible. They're putting him as more of a stand-up outside linebacker, pass rusher, edge rusher, instead of a defensive end that he was last season. So I think he'll open it up. Abdul Carter from Penn State and James Pierce Jr. from Tennessee have some of the best first step explosiveness that we have seen in a long damn time for these top edge rushers. I mean, Abdul Carter wears number 11 for Penn State, and you watch him play and you just go, how do they keep getting these freak athletes on the defensive line, man, every single year? First, it was Micah Parsons, then it was Chop Robinson. Now you're just reloading with another guy. So a lot of big names. And like you mentioned, we're going to be updating the PFF mock draft simulator, certainly right before the season starts, but I'm going to update it with the draft order and my scouting reports as college football goes on. So you guys and your listeners, whenever you want to dip your toe into the water of draft season, it's going to be right there for you.
Check out his big board right now, PFF.com. He's got 8 Ohio State Buckeyes in the top 50. Cardinals go with an Ohio State Buckeye each of the last 2 years. I'm not saying it's fate, but maybe we can pencil in.
Their rival sounds good with those big guys on that defensive line. I wouldn't mind that.
Let's just go what works. And what works for us, Trevor Sikkema, PFF NFL lead draft analyst. Thank you so much for your time, Trev. We appreciate it.
Appreciate it, guys. Anytime.
Big thanks. Great stuff from our guy, Trevor Sikkema, Bo of PFF.com. A lot of good stuff going on with the Arizona Cardinals.
That's right. Xavier Thomas, Rabbit, Taylor-Demerson, some insight there from his all-star game that he played in the East-West Shrine Bowl. And, it matches with what I talked to Jonathan Gannon about, how, Rabbit can play fast, and it matches up just what he's got between the ears, knowing pre and post snap, being able to kind of process information and then just go out there and play. And that matches with what Trev said there. And also what he's talking about with MHJ. So Trevor Sikkema, the best in the biz as far as NFL draft analysis goes. Can't wait to see what his big board looks like. Of course, check that out at Tampa Bay Trey and PFF.com. Johnny, anything else before we get out of here, my man?
I'm not going to dabble on the PFF mock draft simulator right now. I refuse to, because I want to win games this year, but it's handy when we need it. But in the meantime, we're always going to be
You're
here.
Such a liar. You're going to be taking a pass rusher, an edge guy.
They lose to Buffalo week 1. I'll be on that. I'll be trying to cue that up the Monday after, but put the draft aside. We've done enough draft coverage. It's time to win games. It's time for you to like this video, subscribe to PHNX Sports here on YouTube. Thank you, Damon, Dawg, Brack. I'm Johnny Venerable. We're off mañana, back for the final preseason preview Friday show. In the meantime, subscribe to PHNX Cardinals wherever you get your podcast. We'll see you Friday. Peace.
We all silly like the mayor.